We are right in the middle of a Choose Your Own Nat 5 event as part of the 11th anniversary in Summoner's War, and new players are choosing Teshar by a very wide margin. And I've always said that owning a Teshar is the hardest part about building the speed team in Giants. Today, we're gonna set out to prove that. Welcome to the Teshar Speed Team Starter Guide for Giants Abyss Hard. Just like previous guides, we're gonna go through this in turn order, and then we'll talk about some reasonable upgrades and substitutes. First off, it's Prya, the Wind Harpy. You may be familiar with Prya because she actually appeared in a recent video focusing in on the Alunia dungeon within the Dimension Hole. And I got good news for you because she's gonna be ruined exactly the same way, fast and on triple fight. It's also important that she have at least a little bit of accuracy because her whole job is accuracy resistance checks. And if you need to supplement some, you can find additional accuracy in your substats within the artifacts. Prya has also appeared in the top 10 monsters with fake passives video on the channel because she has a fake passive. Every single one of her skills tries to apply a defense break, which is great for us because that means she is functionally derp-proof. So Prya will move, set up a defense break, and then Teshar, your leader and the namesake of the team, will move next. There are two things that make Teshar amazing for this dungeon. First, he's got big damage on skill 2, and he follows up with an AoE attack thanks to his passive, and the cooldown for that will be ignored so long as he gets at least one takedown after he attacks on his turn. Fun fact, that actually used to be a third skill. It's way better as a passive. And the second thing that makes him really cool for this dungeon is his leader skill. A 33% increase to crit rate in dungeons relieves the rune burden on you and your monsters. And it's part of the reason why I say that the hardest part about making this team is getting the Teshar, because now you'll get the 15% bonus from attribute advantage, and you'll also get the 33% from his leader skill. So when you look at mine, it's runed on rage, but yours can be runed on whatever gets him the most crit damage. In fact, mine arguably has too much crit rate. You can even dip into the 50s like that. I think the magic number is actually like 52, but I'm doing that arithmetic on the fly, so someone check my calculations in the comments. For artifacts on your damage dealers, it's largely going to be the same, so just don't be surprised if I cover it here and I don't mention it again. Look for crit damage in all forms. Then look for increased damage on water, and you can also go for attack buff potency specifically for Teshar, because Teshar is the only one that's ever going to have attack buff put on him. Next, man, this team is so cool. Teshar moving once wasn't enough, so we're gonna make him go again. And Kona the Water Garuda is gonna be the one to help us do that. Kona will move right after Teshar, so that way he will use Research to instantly fill up his attack bar again and give an attack buff. I call that the bird boost. And since Teshar knocked out an enemy, that means he's gonna have the cooldown reduced on his passive so he can do that again and wipe the wave. At least he better have gotten a knockout on the enemy, because if he didn't, then something is very, very wrong.
Something's wrong! Yeah, it's all wrong, man! We shouldn't even be up here!
Similarly to Prya, Kona is gonna be on triple fight. Between that and enough speed to move here, that's all he needs. He doesn't even need to be awakened, 6-starred, or be equipped with artifacts. In fact, mine is none of those things, except 6-starred. It's just kind of like a force of habit at this point. So at this point, I want to say that this team is weirdly resilient. Despite the boss's big damage and our team's admittedly low HP and proclivity to get wiped, the team rarely fails. And that's largely in part due to the next member of the team, the Windhomunculus. The Windhomie offers exactly what we need in places like Giants. Big max HP scaling damage on every single one of his skills, but probably even more important to the team's reliability is his passive. It revives him so that he can finish off that remaining sliver of health that's left on the giant after your team gets wiped. As such, we're gonna ruin him on whatever gets him the most crit damage possible. So that way the sliver of health can be much bigger than a sliver. It can be more like a slice, you know? In fact, in the footage you're seeing behind me, mine is runed completely unbroken. This guy does not have a single set of runes to his name. The last member of the team is Shaman, who's come up a ton on the channel recently. And that's probably because he now has a secret dungeon, so it's way easier for me to tell you to get a Shaman and bring it on your team. Because now you can get him any day the Hall of Light is open. And I think this is great, because now I can tell you to rune up one Shaman, and you can use the same monster in Giants, Dragons, Necro, and beyond. We only love him for his skill 2. That's not true, he has so much to offer. But here it's genuinely all we care about. Rage. and 100% crit rate. Specifically because this is presumably the same Shaman that you're using in Dragons for the Kyle Speed team. And I know he's 100% crit rate there, right? For realsies though, he can have lower crit rate here. That's what the Teshar leader skill is all about. I'm just being silly. All right, that's the core team. There are some upgrades you can make along the way though. For instance, if you happen to have Deborah, the Dark Rune Blacksmith, then she fits perfectly on this comp with the way that she increases the potency of defense break. Alternatively, you can use the Kyle team here. In fact, my Kyle team is slightly faster than the Teshar team is. But it's got an admittedly way higher variance just because like Giants is like an afterthought. You know, all the multi-hits, and I built mine for Dragons in theory. Like you can tune it for Giants, but mine is definitely a Dragons Kyle team, you know what I'm saying? Like the fact that it even works here at all is just a happy accident. Speaking of the Kyle team, if you want to check out the guide to that one, I'm gonna have it linked at the end here. And please, in the comments, share your experience with the Teshar Speed team and any tips or substitutions that maybe I didn't mention in the video. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.